want to begin setting up your drum set by positioning your drum throne, your bass drum pedal, and your hi-hat stand and hi-hat pedal. This should feel very natural. When I just turn a little bit, this is where my feet naturally go when I'm sitting. That's what you want to look for. You want to look for a position that feels comfortable. You don't want to be stretching way out here or way up here to reach your hi-hat, because your body will quickly fatigue. Next up, you want to position your bass drum. Now, when doing this, you're going to extend these spurs. There's depending on the kind of kit you have, they may come out this way, they may go into the bass drum. A lot of different kinds. What you want to make sure is that you've got about at least an inch or so of space here, so the front of the bass drum is up off the ground, and then you hook your pedal up back here in the back. Pedal really hasn't moved, so the bass drum's still in that really comfortable position to play. Okay, next up for me is the snare drum. You might choose to place the floor tom first. I always feel a little more comfortable getting my snare drum where it goes. So in terms of the height of the drum, when your hands are in a playing position, you want to just a little bit of a downward angle here maybe. You might want that. You might want it a little higher or a little bit lower, but this is something good to shoot for. Why? Because it's comfortable. And if you're sitting here for an extended period of time, you don't want your muscles fatiguing. If your snare drum's too high, you're going to be up like this. If it's too down low, you're going to be hitting the rim. It's just not going to work. So that's in terms of height. I have my snare drum relatively flat. Some guys like to angle it a little bit to make it easier to play rim shots. If somebody plays with traditional grip, you might have your snare drum angled a little bit. But start out with it flat, see how that works for you. One other thing to keep in mind is where you have this throw switch. You don't want it in a place where you're likely to bump it with your leg or a stick, and all of a sudden in the middle of a song your snare goes off. So this is kind of personal where you want to put that. I like mine right here because it's really easy for me to just flip it on and off from this position. I know other guys that have it up here. It just depends, but just keep that in mind and then try to develop a really consistent place for where you put that. Okay, next up is the floor tom. And the theme here really is the same. You want it in a place that's easy to reach. I see guys that tend to have it too far back here where you really have to, really more of a position for a second floor tom. But your first one needs to be where you can reach it easily. And the way I gauge this is if my hands are in playing position here, and I kind of pivot this hand over if I got to play a quick note on the floor tom, I should come right about in the middle. Okay. If I'm going to be playing on it for an extended number of notes, I just turn my torso. My arms really are in that same comfortable position where I'm not going to fatigue in my shoulders. So that's where you put the floor tom. All right, next step, get your ride cymbal in position. I've already got my cymbal stand over here. You want to make sure that you have felt on the bottom here. Got to have that. You want to protect these cymbals. So you place the cymbal on the stand, and again you got felt on top. All right. Tighten that wing down a little bit, not too tight. Okay, now in terms of the positioning of this cymbal, again, it's all about comfort. You want to be able to turn your hand up and just reach this really easily. Whether you're playing with this French grip, maybe you're playing jazz. If you're really digging into it, or a good rock groove. You want this to be really accessible and comfortable. If it's up too high, again, you're going to stress your shoulder. If it's out too far, how long can you hold your arm out like this, really? You want to be comfortable, so get this ride cymbal right there where you can rock. Okay, you can see here that I've placed this rack tom, tightened it down a little bit. There are so many different drum kits out there now. If you have a bass drum mounted tom, it would be more like this. If you have one that's mounted from a cymbal stand, good for you, first of all. That really doesn't matter in terms of where it's positioned. The main thing here to me is the angle of the drum. You don't want it turned too far up this way where your stick's jamming in. Again, if you watch the other video, Jeff talked a little bit about that. You want to have this, right here where it's easily accessible up from this drum, where you're not putting a lot of strain on yourself to try and reach it. If you have a second rack tom, you really want to mirror that over on this side. Now what that's going to do is it's going to affect this ride cymbal a little bit. So what you'll have to do is you'll probably have to move your ride cymbal over just a little bit, maybe up slightly. But what I want you to be careful of is just moving the ride cymbal up, because what that's going to do is bring your hand way up here, and you're just not going to be able to play for any length of time at all without getting really tired. So if you do have a second rack tom here, you'll have to experiment with the position of this cymbal just a little bit, but in general, this is where it goes. Okay, now we're going to talk about the dreaded hi-hat cymbals. This is what gives more parents fits on Christmas morning than anything else. So hopefully they'll come here, watch this quick little video, and be all good to go. Okay, this is the hi-hat clutch. You want to take off this bottom thing. I have no idea what that's called. Take off one of the two pieces of felt. Okay, put your bottom cymbal on here. Guess I could have done that first. Then you want to take the top cymbal. This goes on upside down, by the way. Wouldn't sound too good the other way. Take the top cymbal, turn it over so it's upside down. Put the clutch right through there. Put your felt on. Tighten up this item that really has no name. Now a lot of guys tighten this really super tight. I like to have just a little bit of play in it so it doesn't choke the cymbal. Okay, then you want to place this on the hi-hat rod. Okay, so right now I got no chick. What you want to do is depress the pedal just about, I don't know, half an inch. Then tighten this up. Release your foot. How about that? You got a working hi-hat. This one happens to be a little bit too high. If I'm going to lower it, well, you can see that creates a whole new set of problems. All right, so just do it again. There we go. All right, last but certainly not least, if you love cymbals as much as I do, is your crash cymbal. Okay, again, I've got my cymbal stand set up here. One piece of felt goes down right. The cymbal, the other piece of felt, get that wing nut on there. Pretty simple. Please remember this little felt sandwich here. I want you to protect these cymbals. As for the positioning, if I move around here, if indeed I had a pair of sticks, you'd see that now that's just about right. You don't really want it hanging over your drums or your hi-hat cymbal, because then you're going to go to hit this drum, you're going to hit the cymbal instead. Right here is where it goes.